from a distant landing ground. Then all he needs is to potter about in the air for 5 minutes above his own gun position.
In a light aeroplane like yours?
Something like mine.
I thought you said there wasn't going to be a war.
Well, I hope there won't be, Taffy, old dear. Once in a lifetime ought to be enough. But, be prepared, you know. See, as things stand, the pilot who has to do the air observation has no personal knowledge of the situation on the ground where the battery is operating. Can't know what the problem is or how to solve it. He gets his orders from an air liaison officer who himself has been briefed through a long chain of other staff officers. It's not only too remote, it's too slow.
What would you have them do instead?
They ought to have a gunner officer with a light aircraft based close by the guns.
Gunner officers fly aeroplanes?
Well, of course they can. Dash it, I can.
I thought you only did it for fun, Jack. I thought it was a hobby.
It was a hobby. I like stories with a happy ending, but that may be wrong. I was flying across to the School of Artillery one afternoon to have tea and talk about aerial targeting. The idea of starting our own flying observation posts was slowly catching on. After all, we were losing our horses and getting motorized, so maybe we could push the powers above gradually into the 20th century in other ways. Suddenly, there was a report like a shotgun going off. The vibration was appalling. Is this where the wings drop off? I remember thinking. The prop blades flickered slower and slower, till with a start I saw straight across my field of view the dark shape of one still blade. There was a grass field some 20 degrees below my nose. It would do. It had to. We glided down very, very slowly, so as not to add more strain to the wings. At all costs, don't undershoot, I told myself as I eased back the stick before final touchdown. With a relief which is hard to express, I slid along above the grass. We trickled to rest, and it was all very silent. I got out, and after a short interval devoted to directing a very genuine thank you upwards, I looked at the engine.
Jack was a long time checking the damage. He telephoned me through a neighbour and I hurried out in a panic. But FT, thank goodness, was the only casualty. I hung about while Jack dismantled the motor.
The port cylinder was intact. It was the brute which had gone on firing because of the faulty switch. There was a huge hole in the underside of the starboard cylinder. Something large had evidently emerged from it in a hurry. In fact, a complete gudgeon pin and the top third of the connecting rod.
Oh.
And there was an attractive row of small round holes round the crankcase. Must have been punched by the stub end of the connecting rod, playing games in there.
Really?
The whole engine's a write-off.
Ready?
Yes. I think what happened is that the piston cracked. That released the gudgeon pin, which decided to see the outside world and plunged through the cast iron cylinder wall, taking its friend, the little end, with it.
Where is it now?
Somewhere in 4 Marks Wood. In a century or more, some bespectacled antiquarian will probably find it and list it as a near something or other instrument for winding wool.
What are you going to do with the plane?
I don't know.
"50 years ago, there were no flying soldiers. Nowadays, we're trained to use helicopters for controlling artillery fire, thanks partly to Jack.